Okay, Phil, we're here in Brafferton, which is just on the outskirts of Newton Aycliffe. We're inside a bus shelter because it's raining. We're trying to keep ourselves dry, but unfortunately at the moment this bus shelter is pretty much redundant. Tell us why.
Well, the bus that used to run through here on a regular basis was withdrawn because the Borough Council found itself having to withdraw the subsidy that it gave to Arriva, the bus company, because of cuts that it received from central government. And Darlington Borough Council in total has asked to find something like £22 million in savings in the next 4 years. So there's drastic cuts everywhere. But what's happened is the subsidy's being withdrawn and Arriva just withdraws the service.
To me personally, I've just retired, and you look to minimise your costs really when you're not working anymore. But to access the doctor, the pharmacy, your optician, to visit people in hospital, or to actually go to church locally, you do need a car.
Local communities like this shouldn't be cut off. Yes, there's a lot of people with cars, people don't use the buses as much, but there's people who live here who have young families that are elderly, who rely on that bus to get to where they need to be. And I think Arriva should look again at the cuts, at the fact that they've actually withdrawn the bus.
For people who are 60 and over, walking to the A167 is quite difficult. It's impossible with your shopping. It's such a poor route to get there, and it's from somewhere in the village rather than from here at the bus stop. It's more like a mile each way, and it's just too much.
The public sector has had to take the risk and the private sector is taking the profit. And I think what's happening now is that places like Brafferton, that out of which, bus companies like Arriva have taken so much over the years, Arriva needs to give a little bit back now, I think, just so that people don't have to use the local motorway service station. That's the nearest shop to Brafferton now.
We've got elderly residents who don't drive and have tried to make the walk and been so distressed that they haven't actually been able to do what it was they wanted to do in the town.
What the Borough Council is doing, with some subsidy from government, but obviously not, it doesn't make up for what they've lost, is to try and establish a community bus service. But the community bus service will ultimately rely on volunteers, and it needs to be sustainable, and I'll support the Borough Council and everything they do in that regard.
I mean, we realised that Phil was working with communities like Herworth to reinstate evening buses. We'd never had evening buses, but to have no bus at all. We realised that, like everyone else, we have to take the results of cuts. But we were given more buses than we could use when Arriva, through the local authority, got a grant. They gave us a bus every hour. We don't need a bus every hour. But what they've removed when they've had that local authority grant aid removed is that they've removed all of our buses, the ones that they ran before they got the grant aid, so that we're suffering more isolation and, people just can't get on with daily living without support from family and friends.
But we are faced with a massive bus company, that has done very well out of subsidies in the past. And what I want to see Arriva do is to give something back in these hard times, because we are supposed to be all in this together, to give something back to communities like Brafferton by at least running the service on a morning and on the afternoon so people can get to where they want to be.
It's removed the independence of several elderly residents completely, so that they're really quite distressed. And they say, we've got a bus pass, but we can't get anywhere near a bus.
But it's not just Brafferton, it's places like Sadburge, there's places like Fishburn that have been affected by these changes, Bishop Middle, West Clonford and other communities in the constituency. And what I'm trying to get Arriva to do is to look again at some of the buses that they've withdrawn and talking to the Borough Council and County Council to see whether they can help.